Hello everyone, George DeSantis here with a look at the market for the week ending October 27th, 2017. As usual, before we go further, we want to take a look at the disclaimer. So you can pause and read this, but please be aware that this video is for educational purposes only, and it's not an attempt to give financial advice. Let's begin by looking at the monthly chart of the S&P 500. We haven't looked at the monthly chart in these videos for a while, so I thought we might revisit the monthly chart. Now, on the monthly chart, we can see that as far as the moving averages are concerned, the 4 EMA is above the 9 EMA, and that is above the 30 weighted moving average, the green line. So that's the moving averages are indicating a really nice, strong uptrend. We can see that the recent candle, this month of October, is certainly showing us a very bullish trend here. Now, Williams percent-R is above the 50% line, and usually when it's above 50%, I take that as an indication that there's a strong uptrend. MACD is above the zero line, it's trending from above the zero line, trending up, and the directional movement index and ADX are in uptrend. You can see the dotted line is the ADX, and the DI plus is above DI minus. So this is indicating to us that the multi-trend is up, and it's a very strong uptrend. So let's move to the weekly chart. Here's a weekly chart of the S&P 500. First, we note the moving averages are above each other. The 4 is above the 9, 9 above 30. I have the Keltner channel in here, this white dotted line, top and bottom, the upper and lower Keltner lines. And of course, the upper Bollinger Band is in view here. Now, what I'm noticing here on this weekly chart is, yes, we do have a nice uptrend relative to the moving averages at least, but we do have a hanging man as occurred last week. So this is a bearish candlestick, and what do we think about this? Well, quite likely the market will digest the recent gains. Maybe we'll get a little bit of a pullback here, somewhere between the 4 and the 9, and continue from there, because this market is still in a very nice uptrend. Now, the MACD is trending up, and it's above the zero line, so the bulls are clearly in charge. And Williams percent-R remains above the 50% line. That's bullish. And the DMI plus is above DMI minus, the green line above the red line. ADX trending up. So this is saying to us, yes, we have a nice trend, and the trend is up. We can see it here. We can see it also in terms of the ADX line. Now, let's take a look at the daily chart. So here's a daily chart of the S&P 500. We can see that on Monday we had this bearish candle, bearish engulfing candle, and the market pulled back Tuesday, Wednesday, and on Thursday we had this candlestick here, which is bullish, and it was an inside bar. So on Friday we had a very nice return to bullishness, especially in the technology stocks, because quite a few of the technology stocks came in with very, very good earnings, and that pushed the market up. Well, the way I'm thinking about it is, even though the S&P looks as though we might pull back a little bit, if the NASDAQ leads the rest of the market, and the NASDAQ is showing such strength, I think it augurs well for the future, for the entire market. So I remain very bullish here. Williams percent-R stays above the 50% line. MACD histogram pulled back a bit, went below the zero line. The bulls were a little weaker here, but on Friday they gained some strength back. Now DMI plus is above DMI minus, and even though ADX pulled back a bit, what that simply tells us is that the trend has weakened, as you can see here. Weakened a bit on the daily chart, but recovered nicely on Friday. So let's take a look at some individual charts, because all in all, the market on all three time frames, monthly, weekly, and daily, is still looking very strong in terms of bullish scenario. So let's start looking at some individual stocks, as we usually do now. I must start with this one, Align Technology. It was on a list that I sent you October 12th, a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet. And, fishermen have their stories about the big one that got away, and traders and investors do too, I'm sure. So this is one that got away from me because I'm like a kid in a candy store these days. I have no money, no cash, but a lot of stocks I'd like to own. I sat down with a friend of mine on Thursday after lunch and we discussed Align. And I said, boy, I wish I could own this one. Well, he called me on Friday morning when the market opened and he says, George, did you see what happened to Align? I said, no. He says it's up $27 or $23 or something like that. And then, it closed up $35 for the day. So coulda, shoulda, woulda. I'll review the list again. I'll take a look at the list and I'll send it to you along with the email. Okay. So we'll take a look and see if we could find some more Aligns. Let's take a look at another one. Okay, here's a chart of Apple. It's the extreme chart showing the regression channel. You can see that on Friday it gapped up and really closed up nicely, up over $5 a share. It closed up a lot. So it's now at 78 on the extreme, so it's not quite overbought at the 90% line, which is what this line is. So Apple might have a ways to go from here. We'll take a look at something else. Now here's Adobe. As I mentioned before, my nephew Christopher brought it to my attention, and boy, has it done well. I don't own it right now, but take a look at what happened with this stock. It went all the way from about 154 or so, 55, all the way up to close at 177 this week. So that's a nice move. And if we look at the seasonals to show you how powerful this software can be if we use it appropriately, is the seasonal trade was October 15 to October 29, right in the sweet spot where we are now. So that seasonal really showed us something. We'll take a look at something else. And here's Facebook. It had a very nice move also on Friday, especially. See, it became oversold here, and then it moved up nicely on Friday. And it's also in that sweet spot for seasonal trade because going into November, we can see what. Let me take a look and see what it is. It's November. It's October 10th to October 24th, but it still goes all the way into the end of the year. Some pullback here perhaps. Anyway, Facebook's still looking pretty good to me. Here is FFTY. That is the ETF of the IBD 50, and I sent you an email about a webinar, and bear in mind that they're going to be coming out with a new ETF. The symbol should be LDRS. Which would basically be an ETF of the IBD ETF leaders. Every week they rate the leaders, the leading ETFs, and this would be a fund of funds, an ETF of ETFs. So this one's still looking very good. It's at 73.6 on the extreme, and I think because you see this narrow band here, I think it's something to add as a core in the portfolio. I do own it. Here's another one I own, which is the IXUS. It's really an international, an ETF of international stocks, all except the US, I think. And you can see that it pulled back to the 10% line, and then it rallied on Friday. So this is another one I have in my core portfolio, and it has done fairly well. I like the fact that the range, the volatility is low because the bands are very small, very low, very short. There's very little distance between the bands, I should say. Let's take a look at something else. Here's another stock I own. I love it very much, Netflix. you can see that it became overbought, pulled back toward the 50% line here, and rallied from there. It was actually up $4.33 on Friday. So this stock continues to be a really interesting one. It's a little more volatile than some of the others, but it's something I hold for the longer term. I think it's a game changer. Here's another one we own. It's NVIDIA, the semiconductor company, and one of the major players in the semiconductor business, especially in artificial intelligence. They're making all those chips that go into self-driving cars, etc. And on Friday, it was up $6.17, 3%. See, it pulled back a little and then it went up again. So love this one too. And here's MasterCard. And every year around this time, we usually trade MasterCard because I'll show you the seasonal in a second. But notice that it became overbought, pulled back to the 50% line, and is trending up again. And in fact, it was up $1.93 on Friday, or 1.3%. Look at the seasonal. You will see the big play on the seasonal is right here, right now. 10.25 to 11.8, 100% of the time. That's what, about 10, 12 years? Yes, 12 out of 12 years. It's been up about an average of 9%. So this is one that should be playing out at this time, seasonally anyway. Visa is very similar, but at this time here, MasterCard seems to have the edge over Visa for the seasonal play. Here's another stock I own, which is TTD, the trade desk. It's on the IBD 50 list of great growth stocks, and it's been doing quite well. So it's TTD. And here's the ETF XLK. It's an ETF of technology stocks. So of course, since the technology stocks rallied so much on Friday, we had this big gap up here of XLK, and it was up about $1. It was up $1.64 on Friday. Now, obviously, it's overbought here, so logically we could expect some bit of a pullback, and we saw that on the indices on S&P that we are likely to see a bit of a pullback here because we have a hanging man. Remember that on the S&P. All right, so that's XLK. Here's Green Dot. This is that stock that my friend Laura recommended. They're in the credit card business, the payment system business, and all of those stocks are doing very well. And we can see that there's a seasonal trade for Green Dot coming up November 20th to December 6th. Obviously, these dates are not written in stone. The trend could start a little earlier or a little later. So we want to keep our eyes on that. Now, if you look at this, if you look at the extreme chart, it's hugging the overbought level here, but it can do that for a while. Notice what it did here. So I would keep my eye on this one. I own it. I have some shares of it, and I like it. And here's a chart of Berkshire, the B shares. I own this as core holding in one of my accounts. We can see it's overbought right now, but it can remain overbought, for a while, like it is here. So I'm not really going to be trading this. I want to hold this as a core in one of my accounts. It looks as though we're coming to the end of the time here. We only allotted 15 minutes to do this on this free video stuff. So I want to say have a wonderful rest of the weekend, and we'll attempt to do this again. I'll update that watch list I mentioned before, and we'll see if we can find another gem there. Okay, bye-bye. I should say a line. Have a great day. Bye-bye.